Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, and I'm going to do a little intermezzo here. When I started applying the long stripy decals, I did a very bad job. And part of the reason is it is very difficult to figure out where they go. There are a total of 8 of these. But if you look at the decals, or the picture of the decals here, there's only 2 long red stripes, and that's because each one of those is made up of 2 pieces. And it took me a very long time to figure out where they actually went. And it's entirely possible that when I was cutting this out, I was a little overzealous. This part right here, I believe actually was one piece. And I probably shouldn't have separated them. That would have made my life a lot easier. But I did. So, uh, yeah, I ended up very much struggling figuring out where these things went. And I ended up putting them on completely wrong the first time. And then I had to remove them. And removing a waterside decal is not something that you should want to do. It does not go particularly well once it's set. I ended up tearing it several times, like this one. It's actually still a little deformed. There we go. That's better. But in any event, what you really need to do when you start this is figure out which go together. And it really doesn't look like there's an obvious pair, but hold them together and see if they are the same width right in the middle. This one's a pair, and this one's a pair. And in looking at the directions, again, you can't really tell from this, like which one goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. Well, you want them to be a lot closer than this, but they should. Basically, I did this upside down as well, but I can't fix it anymore because I've moved it enough so that they're torn. But the thicker one ought to go on the top, the upper side with the tail fin, and the thinner one ought to go on the bottom. Well, the ship's kind of sailed on me being able to fix that, unfortunately. So this is just going to have to be what it is. I'm going to have to do these wrong, but consistently wrong. So this was the thicker pair. That goes on the that's going to go on the bottom, and the thinner pair I need to have going. I'm going to have it going this direction. Whoops, like so. Fortunately, there's a lot of room to work with in this kit. This is a long model, so I have room to deal with it, but I want it to line up pretty well. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to get this one in place. One of the trickier parts here, I mean, this whole thing is surprisingly tricky. This is one of the more difficult decal applications that I've done. One of the tricks is, is making sure that once you get part of it together, you line it up nicely. And so I'm going to use where I ended this on the near side to you, well, the upper part. I'm going to use that as a guidepost. So fortunately, this one is in much better shape than the other one. So looks like that's pretty close. I'm going to stand up here and actually look at it from up ahead. So that looks like it's about in the right spot. So I'm going to hold it down here. I'm going to carefully pull. And you can actually see the decal flexing as I'm pulling it. That's how you deform these things. You pull a little too much for a little too long, and then you end up deforming it. All right, so that's pretty close. Let's just straighten things out here. And again, this is, if you're doing this, don't put the thin part on the top. Put it on the bottom. That's where it goes. But the ship's kind of sailed for me, and I want it to look like internally coherent. So, yeah. And the back part here is going to go like so. It'd be nice if I could actually move this up a little bit, but I really don't want to do that. Yeah, try it. Remember, these things, they're called waterside. They slide when they're wet. If they're not wet, they deform or tear. So if you gotta move it, make sure it's wet. If it's wet, it will probably slide. Not just tear or pull. Actually, it's a little bit more, but probably wrist enough at this point. Now, whenever you move it too, it tends to not quite lie exactly the way you had it before and get increasingly difficult to move around, which is what is going on here. There we go. That's better. All right. All right, so there's the first part. The second part I'm going to do in this video as well, then we'll say good enough. So that goes into my water. Yeah, this was an absolute nightmare trying to fix a mistake once I made it. Yeah, so this is definitely a measure twice, cut once kind of thing, but honestly, it's really hard to tell where these things are supposed to go until you start applying them. Because, I mean, honestly, the difference in width between these two is really trivial, so it's hard to notice that you need to line up a pair. They look kind of interchangeable, but they're not. Yeah, this was messy. I really do think, in retrospect, that I probably cut apart decals on the sheet that I shouldn't have, which would have made this a lot easier. All right, so this part, I want a seamless transition here, so it's better to overlap it a bit. Just be careful when you're removing the backing here too. This is easier this time. Oh, look at that. It's completely detached already, which means it is not going to be lying where it's supposed to go. That's fun. Another danger of the long ones. Okay. Now I'm going to leave my finger here at the top, right where that seam is, and smooth this out. Fortunately, another disadvantage to the really long ones is that when you smooth it out, if there are wrinkles in it or anything, you just end up kind of pushing them down the line. Okay. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Now I'm going to carefully remove my finger here. Hopefully my finger is not stuck to anything. Oh, it was a little bit. And that seam looks pretty good. All right, comparing it to the other side, that's actually pretty close, all things being equal. So, yeah, I'm not pleased with the whole process. It's not great. I pretty thoroughly screwed it up, which I'm not happy with, but, you know, for the decals being in the wrong place, they don't look too stupid or bad. But, yeah, it's not great, but, yeah, I've made bigger mistakes, probably. And ultimately, this is just decoration, right? The decals don't affect whether the rocket flies. They just affect how it looks and how you feel about yourself during the process. So anyway, the last two, I'm not going to do on camera, but they're going to end up here and here, give or take, something like that. Probably a little bit, yeah, I gotta go a little bit farther down. So I have to launch out for the launch lug here. That's okay. That's probably not going to be a problem. Anyway, I'm going to apply the rest of the decals off camera. The little tiny guys, ironically, should go a lot. I mean, it's going to be time consuming, but it should go reasonably well. One would hope better than this, putting the stripes on. Height of irony. Didn't think that was going to be a problem. Ended up being a major problem. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.